Hello everyone and welcome to All Things Watched. In this video we are going to talk about the brand new movie Godzilla x Kong: The New Empire. Now for me, I have a love-hate relationship with this movie because parts of me absolutely loved it. I loved everything that they did with the monster side of it, but then I also have a hate relationship with it because I hate everything that they did with the humans, so to speak, and all these things are subjective. But for me, I'm starting to feel like the Hollywood version of this Godzilla monster franchise type thing. To me, I feel like this is becoming a lot more like the Transformers franchise, where, you know, in Transformers, the Transformers are really cool, but the humans are not. But it's like they keep trying to sprinkle in these little human stories with the Transformers, but at the end of the day, nobody cares about the humans. You know, I would love to see a full Transformers trilogy, or even more, just based on Cybertron. Well, I kind of get the same vibes here with the Godzilla x Kong movie. I absolutely loved all the scenes with the monsters, and even especially when Kong first meets this little baby monkey, or little baby giant Kong, or whatever you want to call him. You know, he's in the trailer, you've seen him in the trailers, he's just the most adorable little creature, and the first time that Kong meets him, you know, it's only them in the monster world, and their facial expressions and the way they look at each other, it was so heartwarming, and I was just like, man, like, I would love to sit down and watch a full hour and a half or a full 2 hours of just the monsters. But of course, you know, it's Hollywood, so they had to sprinkle in the story with the characters. And don't get me wrong, I absolutely love actors like Rebecca Hall. I think she's phenomenal. She was one of my favorite parts of Iron Man 3. I think she's a great actor, and I'm not taking nothing away from her, but I just feel like those characters and the story, the human side of these monster movies excuse me, are just really not necessary. And my favorite parts of this movie was when it was only the monsters. And like I said, whenever Kong, especially when Kong first meets this little you know, this cute little sort of monkey cub, or whatever you want to call it, you know, it was really emotional. And other times throughout the movie, when he's dealing with other conflicts, or, you know, dealing with other monsters, or these other, you know, different things, you know, they do, Kong and other monsters as well do such a great job at conveying emotion just from seeing their facial expressions, with no communication, no talking, even the way that they roar, the way that they walk, the way that they pant. And I just thought that they did a great job with showing the emotion from these monsters without actually having any dialogue or anything said. And so that's why I sort of feel like the best part of this movie are the monsters. The only thing or the biggest nitpick that I really had with this movie was the fact that, you know, the title of the movie is Godzilla x Kong, and Godzilla is literally the very first name written there, but he's hardly in the movie. At least I felt like he was hardly in the movie, and I almost feel like this is doing almost a little bit of damage to Godzilla and the Godzilla franchise, because, as you know, originally Godzilla really is Japanese, and you have the Japanese company, I believe Toho, who does, you know, just the Godzilla franchise on their own. So they did like Shin Godzilla, they did the newest one, Godzilla -1, and all the way back to when Godzilla was done with stop motion putty, you know what I mean, like black and white days, you know. So to me, Toho, especially Godzilla -1, they did that with just like a fraction of the budget is what we get here in Hollywood. And they were able to produce a way better story, you know, in a culture that doesn't speak English, you know, and even to us, say, here in the Western world, you know, the English-speaking folks, we were more, you know, drawn and attached to that story probably than what we are here to Godzilla x Kong. So for me, Toho is still the king of the monsters. Really, they're the king of the movies, king of the monsters. So, you know, I do definitely enjoy Toho Godzilla movies far more than this Hollywood version of it. But I still had a lot of fun. It was still fun to see Godzilla, you know, fighting these other monsters. It was a lot of fun to see Kong jumping into it. I just wish we had more Godzilla, and or at the very least had it more fair, had it more equal time on screen. I just feel like Kong, the whole story was Kong told by Kong's, or from Kong's perspective, and really he was the central character trying to sort of overcome this conflict in this hollow earth area. And the humans, they were sprinkled in and out there, and it was just, I didn't care about them whatsoever. I was not interested in their story, and almost had like some form of almost like a religious cult surrounding the human stories this time, because they end up sort of finding this new like native tribe that's native to the hollow earth, so to speak, and it's almost like they're sort of worshipping these monsters, which, you know, I can understand that, because, you know, Godzilla literally has the word God in the front of his name. He's oftentimes referred to king of the monsters, and you know, even in the original Japanese versions, I think sometimes he's actually referred to as God, you know, almost like on a worshiping level. And so I understand the concept behind it, but I just felt like, to me, this one felt a little less serious, and you know, especially with the human sides, they were joking and being almost very careless, almost like, you know, you got all these big monsters running around, but nobody really cares. And so it really took away from this fear. You know, one thing that we love about Godzilla movies, especially Tahoe's, is that you're afraid of Godzilla. You know, Godzilla is the bad guy, not the good guy. He's a monster, and I just feel like now we're getting, you know, the franchise seems to be heading, like I said, more like the Transformers franchise, where it's becoming a little more silly, and we're getting all these stories with humans that nobody really cares about. Just give us a good Godzilla story, just give us a good Transformers movie, no humans whatsoever, and I think then we would all be happy. But like I said, I still had a lot of fun watching it, but you know, this did not make me excited to see another one. You know, I'm kind of okay with this one now after the 2014 one. Even the 2014, you know, the first in this franchise, I thought was okay. Then they did Skull Island. I was a big fan of Skull Island. I did think that one was good. Then they did, like recently they did, Apple did Monarch. I really liked the first half, but then the second half, it just kind of lost me a little bit more as they got closer to the ending. And then we had, I believe it was Godzilla King of the Monsters, and that was the first movie that made me a little concerned. I still had a lot of fun, I still enjoyed it, but I was a little bit concerned with the direction that the franchise was going. And then we had Godzilla vs. Kong, and then for me at least, it started to get a little cartoony, then a little more silly, and you know, it started, for me, it started to become a little more like the Transformers at that point. And then we get this one, which to me was just, you know, it was almost laughable. The only thing that really saved this movie for me was the fact that it was Godzilla and Kong, and I just love seeing these giant monsters on screen and fighting these other monsters and all this kind of stuff. But you know, beyond that, you know, there wasn't really a whole lot for me to grab onto, and this did not make me excited for the next movie. It was just like, oh, okay, it's another one. Kind of like the Transformers franchise. I'll see the new one, I'll see the next Kong and Godzilla movie, but I'm not, you know, biting my nails to see it. Or, you know, it is getting to the point where this franchise is becoming less and less serious, and I feel like it doesn't even take itself seriously anymore. And I just hope that it doesn't keep going too silly, and I hope they can get back on track. But with that being said, folks, that's my review of Godzilla x Kong, the New Empire. Let me know in the comment section below if you've seen it, and if you'd like to tell me why or why not. If you like this video, click that subscribe button, and until the next one, take care.